I love me some LinkedIn for lead generation. And while paid plans on LinkedIn like Sales Navigator and Premium can help you sell more, they can also run up a bit of a bill. The good news is you don't need to even spend a single penny to sell on LinkedIn. So I'm gonna go deep on 5 brutal but legal free LinkedIn hacks that you can use to generate leads. And even if you do pay for a LinkedIn Premium plan, don't worry, these hacks will still be very useful to you. All right, so the first hack, job ads. We all know that LinkedIn also acts as a job board where you can apply for jobs, but you can also use the job ads to find people to target for your services or product. You just switch across to the jobs tab and you type in the keywords of a job that you would be looking for. Let's just put in SOC analyst. And to make sure these are recent jobs, I'm going to switch it to the past 24 hours. We're now going to see all these companies that are hiring SOC analysts. So this is of course helpful if you work for a staffing agency, you're a recruiter, and you want to find companies that are hiring or maybe struggling to hire. But it can also be helpful if you sell something else. For example, a lot of the time in a job ad, it might actually state a priority or a project they'll be working on. It might even call out a specific technology that they want someone to have experience with. And if they want someone to have experience with that technology, let's just say Sage or SAP, then that's a pretty good indicator that they're currently using SAP or Sage. And if you're a competitor of one of those tools, or you're complementary to one of those tools, you can use that to better target and position your outreach to someone at that company. And here's the part a lot of people don't know. You can select past 24 hours, past week, or past month. But I want you to pay attention to what's up here, the URL. And you see where it says 86400, that's actually the number of seconds since the job was posted. So for 24 hours, there's 86,400 seconds in a day. So you can change this to be a specific amount you want. So in an hour, there's 3,600 seconds, I believe. So we put in 3,600. And now we're going to see all of the SOC analyst jobs that were posted in the past hour, not the past 24 hours. So we can actually be the first person to see this information and actually ideally reach out to the person about that. Also keep in mind that if someone's hiring a SOC analyst, and let's say you're an MSP or a cybersecurity provider, that's then basically saying we need help, right? So you can often use job ads as a way to inform your outreach that way as well. All right, hack number 2. This is one that not many people think about, not many people know about, and don't know the advantages of. LinkedIn has these things called groups. So on your home feed here, you can click this button down here at the groups and you can see all the groups that you're part of. Now, these groups aren't actually very active. Most people on LinkedIn don't even use them. But if you're in one of these groups, you get some extra advantages. For example, anyone else who's also in that group, you might have the ability to message them without having to use an InMail, depending on the settings. You also get increased profile visibility. So even if they're not in your network or a secondary connection, you can still see their details if you're in a group with them. What's more, when you connect with them, it will tell them that you're in the same group. So this can be a good way to broaden the number of people you can actually see and engage with early on when you start on LinkedIn. So let's say you sell to software founders. You might type in the search bar up here, software founders. Switch it over to groups. And then you might consider joining Silicon Valley startups, founders, investors, mentors, jobs. And by joining that, we're going to get access to 7,000 people's profile that we might be able to actually message directly without having to use InMails, without having to be connected with them. And we're actually going to be able to see a lot more of their profile depending on their privacy settings. So definitely when you're starting out, join as many groups as you can because it will make everything a lot easier as you grow your network and connect with more buyers. Number 3, the search functionality. So while LinkedIn's main search filter isn't quite as user-friendly as the one that you'll find in Sales Navigator, it does actually have some extra features, bells and whistles that you can use to find people, companies, or whatever, and also other things like posts. So for example, if I switch this across to people, I can see a bunch of people who have the word sales in their profile. I can then add in more filters like location, what country or city they're based in, if they're actually hiring, what degree connection they are. First degree, they're connected with me. Second degree, they're connected with someone I'm connected with. Or third degree, they're outside my network and we don't have any mutual friends. And we can also select their current company. So if you know you want to go after a company, you can actually find the people who work there just by using the basic search functionality. You can also click all filters and you can start to see if they're hiring, what location, what their current company is, what their past companies have been, what school they went to, their industry, and what language their profile is in. There's also something in here that is not available in a Sales Navigator search. So this is something that you can do on LinkedIn.com, but you cannot do over in Sales Navigator. And that is you can look for people who follow a certain creator or company. So I could type in Will Aitken here. By the way, that's me. Connect with me on LinkedIn and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more selling tips. Whack that in, click show results, and now I'm going to see a bunch of people who follow Will Aitken. This can be helpful if you want to find people who follow a certain creator, or maybe they're a mutual friend of yours, or maybe that creator is a client of yours and you want to name drop, whatever it may be. Really good stuff here that makes it much easier to target people based on who they follow. Not only can you use the search functionality to find people, but as we showed before, you can look for groups and other things as well. One of the best things you can look for on LinkedIn, which you can't look for in Sales Navigator, is posts. So what we can do is type in a keyword at the top here, for example, YouTube, and it's going to show us a bunch of posts that include the word YouTube. We can say that we want that to be posted in the past 24 hours, and we can sort by either the top match or latest or the content type. For example, is it a video, is it a text post, is it an image? We can also add other filters like where is the author based, what industry is the author in, what company does the author work for. So if you really want to quickly see all the people who work at Google who are making content, you could do that very quickly and start to engage with those people. But in this case, if I was a YouTube editor or a YouTube strategist, I could type in YouTube and find all the people who are currently talking about YouTube, or maybe even asking for advice or help with YouTube. But if I find some content about YouTube that's done really well and a lot of people have engaged with it, then it's fair for me to assume that people who have engaged that content have an interest in YouTube. For example, if there was a post about how to create engaging thumbnails and someone had commented on it saying this is really helpful, that would tell me that person is probably trying to create better thumbnails. If I offer that as a service or that's something that I offer a tool for, that makes that person a great prospect for me to reach out to and basically putting their hand up saying this is helpful. In other words, I have that problem or I'm struggling with this. If you want to build a brand for yourself in the cybersecurity space or online content space, you could find people who are already creating about this topic, comment on their posts, and therefore get exposed to their audience and start building your own brand and audience by doing that. Finally, in the all filters, you can actually select if someone actually mentions a company in that post. So if I type in Adobe in there, then I can look for all the posts that mention Adobe. Maybe there's some people unhappy with them, but either way, I can reasonably assume a lot of these people are Adobe customers. Again, if I'm a competitor to Adobe, then I can use this as a way to find people who are unhappy or people who are definitely using Adobe. And if I know some good selling points that move people from Adobe to this, then this is a great place to find people to reach out to. You can also use this search functionality to find companies themselves that might be a good fit for you. And with the keyword search, you can actually find specific companies that mention something on their profile, which allows you to drill into this more. You can select by location, industry, company size, how many employees they have, and if they're hiring on LinkedIn. Again, another really good one if you work in the staffing or any kind of HR recruitment industry. You can also use the search to find products, groups, services. I don't find those quite as helpful, but one thing you might want to do is look for events. LinkedIn events aren't doing as well as they used to do. They used to get like hundreds of attendees. But what you can do is search for a specific event with a keyword and then join that event. The reason you might want to do that is one, because you want to learn some stuff, but two, when you actually click attend event, you get to see all the other people who are attending that same event as you. If they're attending an event about cold calling, let's say, and you sell a dialing solution or you're a sales trainer like myself, then you can very quickly see a bunch of people who are clearly interested in learning more about cold calling. If you have an offer in that department, you can reach out to them. Same applies to anything else you might sell. So be sure to check out events, attend them, and then look at the attendee list because those people are hand raisers again who are saying, I need help with this thing. Switching gears away from the search functionality for a second, there's something that you might want to know about connecting with people on LinkedIn. You get a limit of 100 connection requests per week. However, if someone ignores your connection request, it kind of feels like you can never sell to them again unless you send them an email. But you might not want to use an email because they don't work very well, or you might just not pay for a plan on LinkedIn where you have access to emails. So if that person ignores your request, then you pretty much can never connect with them again, or so you thought. What you can actually do is click on My Network at the top of the screen. And right there, you're going to see all the invitations you might have, or in my case, I don't have any right now. If I click this button here, Manage, I can actually see all the invitations that I've received, but also check out all the invitations that I've sent. What this means is, if I scroll down a little bit and I can see when I sent them the connection request, if it was like a month ago, then I can assume one of two things. Number one, they ignored a my connection request, or number two, they're just not active on LinkedIn. More likely the former, because something on my profile scared them off, or maybe I included a note or I didn't include a note, right? So what I can do is go and find those ones that clearly aren't going to be accepted and actually withdraw the requests. So for example, Alex Dankik, I sent him an invitation a week ago. I can click this withdraw button and it's going to tell me you're not going to be able to resend Alex an invite for up to 3 weeks. But after that, I can actually then try and connect with Alex again. So it's not completely closed off. Now, this is a very manual process, but it's definitely worth doing because I've had some people ignore my requests, maybe even years ago. And now I've withdrawn them and sent them a new request and they have actually ended up accepting. And this final one is going to be especially helpful for those of you who don't pay for a LinkedIn plan, because LinkedIn actually incentivizes you to upgrade to a paid plan by limiting how many search results you can see. So if I type in here, let's just say managing director, and I go to people, and I start scrolling through this. Eventually, if you're not a paid member of LinkedIn, it will say you've hit the limit on your total search results you can see this month or week, wherever it is, which means you can no longer search for people. That's kind of frustrating, right? But here's something that you can do to get around this without having to pay the $100 or whatever it costs to upgrade to LinkedIn Premium. Go to Google. In Google, you can do a search query by title, by whatever, something like managing director and logistics or shipping and startup. And you can whack in a Boolean search like that's going to a string. But at the end of this Boolean search, you can put and LinkedIn.com. And now I'm actually using Google to basically search LinkedIn for profiles that have those keywords that are in there. And because I'm using Google, I can just click straight onto these and it will open up those profiles that match those keywords. The longer the search you do, the more accurate it's going to be, the more better people are going to find. So if you really want to carry on searching on LinkedIn without paying for it, that's one workaround that you can use to start finding people today. All right, and those are 5 hacks that can make LinkedIn even more useful for lead generation without paying a single penny. Hope those were useful to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel below, and I actually have a weekly newsletter that goes out that shares sales hacks, tips, templates, and frameworks. Be sure to subscribe to that. There is a link in the description, and I will pin a comment. Drop a like, and I'll see you on the next one.